Hi, welcome to Crafting with Elaine at the WMTL. Today's craft project is creating a pencil holder from repurposed magazines. In your packet, along with magazine pages, you'll find a 15-ounce tin can, a paper ruler, 2 rubber bands, a straw, a piece of cardstock, a glue stick and bottle of glue, as well as a brush. You'll need a scissor. A glue gun is optional. But you will also need a clear, smooth-sided plastic liter bottle, such as that the seltzer comes in, because this way it'll find a clear surface to adhere the magazine rods. Since it is clear, it'll allow you to see the rods through the plastic. Let's take a look at those magazine pages. Most of them will appear to be colorful. The most important thing, though, about the magazine pages is not the whole page. It's more about the edge of the page. On this particular page, you see that there's some lettering in white, background to it. I'm going to get rid of that. Here is the trim page. Your packet should contain pages that have already been trimmed. Most of the pages in your packet have been chosen by the colors on the edges of the pages. About 3/4 of an inch will remain visible when the page is used. Here is a page that I will be using. You'll notice that the 2 arrows are pointing to a top and a side of an edge. Those are the parts that will become visible when I am done rolling the paper. Flip the page over. Notice that the top corner is what's going to appear when rolled up. That is the side that will be visible. Put it on the side that's not visible. Roll the glue stick through the center and to the 2 sides. Take your straw, envelope it with the edge, corner, opposite, and roll it up. Keep moving the straw to the side so that it doesn't become enveloped by the roll. Try to keep the tension throughout. Once it's done, you'll be able to just pull the straw out. Roll each page. You may need to add a bit of glue stick to the very top corner to make it adhere. Don't panic if a few rolls are slightly larger or distorted. In other words, if an end is slightly fatter than the other, it will not make that much of a difference in the long run. Here is when you need to make a decision. A top design of the holder is up to you. For a simple edge, the cardstock can be wrapped around the can and the rolls adhered, cutting them down to the size of the cardstock or the can for that matter. Remember, the height of the top must allow access to the pencils within. A fancier edge can be created. If you use the cardstock only above the edge of the can rather than using the bottle, your cardstock will be visible when the item is finished. Alternatively, you can use the bottle around the can and adhere the rods to the plastic. You can create cutout areas or clear areas. You may ask, why use the can at all? The can provides a stable base, and since we would cut off the base of the bottle, it provides the only bottom. All right, so how to design the top edge? Take a scrap paper and measure it to fit the can, assuming we are using cardstock for the top. Fold it in half vertically a few times, then cut a simple design from the top. This is then a template to draw on the cardstock and cut out. The cardstock is glued to the can, and then the rolls are cut to size and glued to the cardstock. Alternatively, you can use the clear plastic bottle. As you can see the back of the magazines from within the can. We'll use a 1 liter seltzer bottle. Remove the outer label. Mark around the circumference at about where the top stops changing size, and the same thing around near the bottom. Put the bottle cap back on the bottle. This will make it easier to puncture the bottle. Once you've punctured the bottle with the knife along the line, use a scissor to cut off the bottom. Do the same with the top. Using a scissor, cut from top to bottom the tube that you've created along the area where you still see some residue from the label that was on the bottle. Because the tube is larger than the can, we'll be trimming away some of the plastic that is on the tube. We're going to try and remove some of that residue from the labels. First thing you want to do is place the tube at about the height on the can that you would expect your top part of the design to be. This could be about maybe half an inch up from the bottom. It's up to you. But essentially that's where, if you put the, like a pen or pencil in, just make sure that the tip of it comes out the top. All right, once you've done that, put the residue portion underneath the clear portion. Mark along the edge, and then we're going to trim along that edge. You'll notice on mine that I've actually got two markings, one where I had originally had it when I had the tube upside down. I tried switching it around so that the least amount of label book would show. That is why you're seeing two lines in this particular picture. As you see here, I've cut off the extra plastic, including that extra label crap that's on it. Just as we did with preparing to use the cardstock, we're going to do the same thing with the plastic. We're going to create a template to use on it. So the first thing I do is make sure I've got the piece of paper the size of around the can and fit it properly. And then I flatten it out, but this time I'm keeping this center opening in the middle of it, because that's going to be the area that is going to match up around the back of the can, and that's the one thing that has to match up. Well, it doesn't have to, but if I want it even, then I would do it that way. Then I can do anything else I want, and that's what I intend to do. I decided for this particular pencil holder that I wanted to leave one side high and one side right along, pretty much along the edge of the can. So the first thing I did was raise the plastic up and put a rubber band around it so that it's a lot higher. And then I decided to create, a design. Well, what is it that I want? So I created a little design where it's going to peak at one side and then go down and around to the other side. I find that paper adheres better to paper with school glue than, say, the can. So although I am using the plastic on top, I will still have the cardstock on the bottom. I measure the height of the can and cut the cardstock to that height. Make sure you are cutting it so that the cardstock can wrap around the can and then some. You want the cardstock to overlap around the can. For those of you using only the cardstock as the pattern, use a rubber band to temporarily secure the cardstock while you glue it to the can. Since I didn't show you previously how to put the cardstock pattern together, I will show you here. First, lay your patterned piece next to the can to see how high you will need it in order for the lowest part of the pattern to be above the top of the can. We don't want to see the can from the outside when finished. Also, the bottom of the cardstock should match up with the bottom of the can. You may have to raise your pattern piece on the cardstock to ensure the pattern is high enough on the can. Once you have drawn out the pattern on the cardstock, verify with the can next to it that the bottom of the can matches up with the bottom of the cardstock, and ensure that the lowest part of the pattern on top is above the top of the can. You then can cut it out, put glue around the can or use the glue gun, and secure the cardstock to the can. If you're using the glue, put the rubber bands around it until it has dried. Now we are going to adhere the magazine rods. Place one against the can. Make sure the top extends past the top of your pattern. Clip off the bottom of the rod so that it matches the height of the bottom of the can. Cut off the top depending upon the angle of your design. If yours is flat, cut it flat across. If it's angled, just cut an angle. Notice I did not cut it in relation to the plastic. I will eventually angle it down to the point where it will be at the same height as the plastic, but not at this point. Put some glue on the cardstock and adhere the magazine rod. Notice I accidentally put it in the wrong direction, so I will continue in that direction. The next rod, after cutting off the bottom, I match it with the top and angle it away from the other. After adding glue, I put the rod in place and then I put the rubber band around it. This rubber band will be there until I am finished with this project. As you continue, first of all, cut the base of each rod and then cut the top, angling it appropriately. Please make sure that you put the glue not only on the cardstock, but also on the previous rod that the new one will be touching. Here I have finished the front face of the can. I will continue going around through the back. I am now at the last rod. The space at the bottom is a little wider than at the top, but once I put the glue in and place the rod in, it will all be fine. And now I will let it dry. Once it's dry, I will remove the rubber band and I will have a good pencil holder. I hope you've enjoyed the craft and I hope to see you again soon.